Riel, and a good run from the return of Magnificent Storm.
Same way, Riel, leaders back throughout the race. They did all of the work up front. Magnificent Storm was mighty in his return. Minstrel was brave, but Chris Voak, good afternoon to you. It was Voak at his very best. Congratulations taking out that Mount Eden sprint there yesterday on your home track.
Yeah, g'day Gareth, and thanks very much. It was it was an excellent feat.
Geez, you got excited. I loved it. It was the Voak train 222 at his very best.
Well, we got him on a half stake, and I think the wife we got him on a half stake. So the wife, I think, she picked up a fair bit on the punt, and there was 10 large attached to that. Again, we get half of that as well because we broke the 150. So even if we got a $500 fine, it's pennies.
So 149 the mile rate. Yeah, and so you've drawn the pole. And you're on a horse that, like, he's a 9-year-old son of Art Major, and it's a great training performances because I think sometimes those Art Majors can have a think about it, especially when they have had a bit of experience on their side. But Sangway Real has been able to do the job against a quality lineup there yesterday. Why were you confident going into this contest?
Actually, the way you just described the horse sounds like a start to your biography. I thought we were talking about Gareth Hall.
Yeah, well, that's a very good point you make. And, yeah, you know what? We always have the last laugh, don't we, at the end of the day? We can surprise from time to time.
Well, correct. I mean, Sangriel performed exactly like my sex life, very fast.
What about on now? This is in the afternoon, Vokey, so you have to behave yourself just a little bit. But what about this performance? Like, did you think you could beat Minstrel and Magnificent Storm?
Look, I was confident actually before the race we could handle Mag Storm because it's very hard to come back from layoffs like he's had. And I watched him work. Ray brought him down to Pinjarra and worked with a couple of Aiden DeCampos a week out. And he worked really well. His times were good. But I just felt, what I saw, I thought, well, Sangriel could have done that easy, And Minstrel, on the other hand, was one I thought he'd be hardest to beat. You're talking a horse that sat outside Don Hugo and it enters and went down a neck. He's a real weapon. But I did when Freddie Tabor brought Captain Ravishing over end of last year and that at Ross and Gemma's. We had a bit of a chat and he come down and shared a few different methods of training. Something that I'd never seen before or never heard of, and it really suited this horse going into the mile. So sort of after his Pinjarra Cup run, I'd switched him purely to this training to get the speed into him, and it worked a treat.
Yeah, and Captain Ravishing, I don't know if he's coming back for the Nullarbor. I don't think he has got a slot, but it makes me think now that have you got a slot for a Nullarbor? Has people been on the phone to you?
No, no one respects Sangriel. It's just unfortunate. They just don't. But I do think he'll keep stepping up. Like, it's not going to be a one-off thing. What you saw yesterday, I'm actually confident he'll go on with the job. And his performances in free-for-all company, pacing cups and that over the past couple of seasons, he never lets you down. He's never dropped out or anything like that. And I just think where we are, Ash and I in our training, we're better trainers than we were 2 years ago. Yeah. So I think we'll do a better job with him. And I'm confident, if he gets the right draws and stuff in feature races, he's going to run top 5 like he has done before many times.
It was some race, wasn't it? Like, Mitchell put it to Magnificent Storm first up. Yeah,
well, the other thing, like earlier, the track was real quick yesterday too, Gareth. Yeah. The weather was perfect. Normally we get, Pinjarra, you get that sea breeze in the afternoon, and you just punch a headwind up the back straight. Well, it wasn't there at all. And the boys had curated the track perfectly. So every race ran time. So it was perfect conditions to run the time. And when the mares went 150 point whatever, I thought, well, we're definitely going to go close to breaking the 150. and it was just an excellent day. I'm just glad I didn't fall out of the cart when I saluted.
Yeah. Talk us through that salute. Like, that's what racing's all about. The Voak train, he's the people driver with the pink gig, and we had a lot of fun when I was in WA. And we need characters like you in the sport, Voakey, and it was just great to see. And, it's great to see, with all due respect to the Bonds, and I love the Bonds and the Halls senior camp. I think they add a lot of, they spend a lot of money and they expect to be the best. They want to be the best. And so they set a high bar, basically, for everybody to try and catch up to. But it's great to see yourself, Voakey, just starting off basically in the training game to take on some of these bigger stables and beat them.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, without the big stables buying horses and things like that, we don't have any. Well, they buy a lot of the quality, so you can't knock anyone for doing that, because if I was in the same position, I'd do the same thing. But obviously, we're still building, so we got Sangriel, like I said, on a deal. And the good thing about that horse, I mean, he was retired with a fetlock 3 years ago, and we bought him out of retirement. And then the end of his second preparation for us, he got contacted by Sulky and injured his tendon, so he had to spend 9 months on the sideline with that. And then to come back again last prep and do what he did, and then again yesterday, it's quite remarkable. It's a credit to the resilience of the standardbred, And like you alluded to earlier, the art majors. I know you put it diplomatic, but I'll just say it, that they can be dogs. They got that filth in them. He honestly doesn't have it. He's just the best trier. Like, I think the postman jumped in and got into his mum because he's not an art major. Like, it's just, he's the opposite of any. And even the build of him, he's real athletic and he's just a sweet trier, mate. And what he's done for us, I mean, I think the last 2.5 years he's won over 200 and something thousand for us. So, I mean,
he's been life-changing in a way if he's on half stakes.
Well, mate, like, that was when we first started training 3 years ago. He was the first sort of horse I got. And, that, I mean, they don't come across your path all that often. And even though he's not a superstar, I mean, he still won over 200,000 in like 35 starts or something.
Yeah, no, he's been a great horse. And then, I know that you're a great student of the sport of harness racing. I'd love to get your thoughts on some of the runs behind you. Like, Magnificent Storm went enormous. He surprised me with how big he went. First up to do what he did. It was good to see him back at the races.
He was awesome. Yeah, and like, I watched the replay a few times, and the horse moved really good. Like, he was stabled, like Ray was stabled about 4 or 5 stalls up from us. And I thought our bloke looked a treat. Like, he looked as good as he could. And then I could see Magnificent Storm, and I'd always kept my eye on him. Obviously, friends with Ray and that. I remember looking at him when he trialled, and to see the horse he was race day, you could just tell he was just lengths and lengths better looking than when he trialled. And so it was no surprise to see him go that good, but it's a very hard training feat to come back from what that horse did. Like, we train on Rob Tomlinson's property, so Storm did all his rehab out here and that. I mean, you really have no idea how sore that horse was. Like, I really thought there was no chance he would get back to racing. And then to see him do that, it's remarkable. And look, I honestly think he'll have a couple of starts and then go out for a break, and it'll be that next preparation where you'll see him. He could even be better than he was before. Like, that was Minstrel's damn good.
Yeah, no,
he was gallant.
And was like an aggressive drive too by Danny Roberts. He thought she was on the best horse, and she was. He went the best out of, I reckon, the field there, Minstrel, doing all of the work in the breeze, and he just couldn't hold you off from a nice sit there just off the pace. And this Nullarbor is going to be some race. We had Jason Grimson on Giddy Up this morning, and he says that Swayze's never been better. He's just in the zone at the moment. He can sit outside of anyone, including Don Hugo. And I know, like, Mr. Smarty and Minstrel think they would be confident if they could find the fence first in a race like that. So from a depth point of view, and then you've got Catch a Wave coming back to defend his title, I don't think WA's seen a better race depth-wise for a long time than what's coming up with this Nullarbor, and then hopefully the Fremantle Cup.
I agree. I totally agree, Gareth. It's an Inter-Dominion type field. Like, you know, you look at the Inter-Series that they'd come here previously, and you look at those big guns, they're probably the only horse missing out of it is a Leap of Fame.
Yeah,
and then
100%.
you're calling it, you know what I mean? It's a proper Grand Circuit race. It's a really good thing for West Australian harness racing, and I hope they promote the hell out of it, because we can really highlight what a good sport we got. I'm looking forward to it. You've got a lot of good stayers, and to chuck them on the half-mile track at Gloucester Park, the thing is, it's a lot of the guys that come over and drive. It's a tactically different race driving on those half-mile tracks.
Yeah.
You know, they all think, oh, you've got to hold the breeze and things like that. Well, you can get beat by overdoing it early over the long trip at GP. You know, like the little weak squibs. You know, an average horse can beat you on the tight track.
Yeah.
And as you saw, like, nothing against Captain Hammerhead, but you saw Swayze go down to him out at that little donut, you know?
Yeah, and that. But that's a Gloucester Park and Albury. You can't compare. I think it's a little easier to sit in the breeze at Gloucester Park than it is at Albury. But it is difficult.
No doubt.
To win a race. Yeah, I know what you
know what I mean. You're talking Catch a Wave's going to sit on you. Don Hugo's going to be there. Mr. Smarty, Minstrels. Like this. There's a number of horses.
I saw him in that Miracle Mile, mate. They couldn't. He just was like once he got out of that pocket, he charged through the line. He was awesome at Penrith. He deserves to be favourite.
Oh, you're talking about Swayze?
Yeah, Swayze. He's in the zone.
I was filthy. I had 2 bets. I backed both of Grimo's horses in that race, and man. And you know the other horse that went good was Turden's horse.
Swayze, sooner the better.
Couldn't get it. Those two could not get runs. It was a gross watch, you know. Yeah. But that's what happens. Luke's a good tactical driver, so he made sure they wouldn't, you know, you stack the field up and do what you got to do.
No, he was great, mate. What about tonight? Can you help us with a winner? You've got a few drives. You're training a few. Anything for us battlers there tonight that we can have one bet?
There's one in the race 1, Living It Up Ernie. I think Senior's horse will be hard to beat, but forget his last run, just put a line through it. I backed him up and he didn't back up, but his run prior to where he run third to Gay Crusher first up was, because he's only a 3-year-old and he took on the 4-year-olds and he went real good, so he'll run top 3.
Yeah.
And then the other one is...
Will you lead?
Yeah, I think so, for sure. I mean, yeah, I'd say so, because the one of Seniors is probably the only other decent one, so it's a match race, I'd say, between us, and especially around Gloucester Park on the rail. Even if he doesn't win, he should still run, by leading, he can run second or third.
Beautiful. So
the other one was Streets of Stockton, Gareth.
Yeah, for Bubba Houston.
Yeah, my mate, G-Man Giles Inwood owns it, and then he sent it out to Hubba, and I know Hubba's real happy with it. So, but typical markets, they don't give you a price.
Yeah, I know, but anyway, what price is the one in the first race today?
$5. I thought it'd be 12s. You know.
Well, it was $50 to $1. I'm looking at the website there.
So someone's going to lose their job.
No, I don't know who does those prices. Sometimes they're just too good to believe. But you're getting some.
They need to go to Specsavers.
Yes. Hey, Vokey, great to see you take out that feature. It was. I love the passion. You work hard.
Oh, it's good, man.
Yeah,
100%.
You've got a horse that's. I mean, I didn't know you had it on half stake, so I would have been celebrating like that as well. He's earned you close to $100,000. Then obviously you put in a lot of work with him because of his injuries, but what a tough horse he is. So well done, mate. Hopefully you can get a slot in that Nullarbor.
Yeah, fingers crossed. I mean, there's still plenty of other races for us, so, you know, I always believe if it's meant to be, it'll happen. So, yeah, we'll just play it by ear. Just before I go, I've got a couple of other horses to follow. I've got a new one from Melbourne called Guilty by the Beach. When I line him up, I like him. I reckon he's going to...
He was a male's horse, wasn't he?
Yeah, Paul and Kari had him.
Yeah.
I think he's going to do a terrific job. And I've got another one, Sweet Vivienne. I'm racing there Friday. She might be 10 to 1. I think she'll jump out the ground.
Beautiful. We'll wait for the draws
All
a
right.
little later
There's
on.
something for the listeners.
Toot, the vote train. Jeez, it's a pleasure to have you on SEN Track here, mate. We love your work. You go and get them on Friday. And hey, if Ernie can win tonight, you give us a salute, can you, for the Giddy Up followers?
Giddy up, boy.
Yeah, good on you, brother. Thanks for that, Voak.
All right. See you guys. Thanks, mate. Bye.
What a character he is, Chris Voak. But on Saturday night, we had the running of the Sky Racing Perth Cup final, and it was a terrific performance by Deadly Avenger, the Victorian that was based with Steve Withers during the carnival. And Steve Withers joins us here on The Best from the West. Steve, congratulations.
I appreciate it, Gareth. How are you?
Good, thank you, mate. Talk us through about Deadly Avenger and how he arrived at your kennels for the series.
Yeah, well, obviously getting the visitors over is a little bit of pressure. It's kind of like flying over from Perth to Melbourne into city traffic and hiring a really expensive rental car and not ticking the insurance box.
Yes.
There's a fair bit of pressure. There's a lot that can go wrong. And, you've got a really quality animal that landed in your care. He's already proven to be Group 1 class. And you're doing your best not to put any scratches on the rental car.
No, and did you expect him to perform as well as he did during the carnival? Because it's a bit like sometimes the horses when they head across to east. Some acclimatised to the WA way of life better than, say, others.
Yeah, well, we did. Obviously, he's a son of Tommy Shelby, so we've been watching him and Morton very closely through their careers. So we had a special connection there following him. And just watching how he travelled up to Brisbane and raced up there and how he went through the Australian Cup Carnival, it was very obvious that, like, obviously him and Morton both have huge talent. And, it was our job to get him here and try and make him feel as comfortable as possible.
And obviously box draws wins you these type of races, and you came up with, obviously, Morton was in box number 3 and you quinelled the Perth Cup, which is a credit to yourself and the team. But you must have been happy when he drew box number 1, especially with the way that the race looked like it would pan out.
Absolutely, yeah. And box draws may not win races, but they certainly create opportunity, and opportunity wins races. So, yeah, when he came up with the red and Mapunga Tully, unfortunately, it must have been tragic for those guys. I couldn't imagine how they'd feel scratching on race day. But she's a dog that uses a bit of the track. So when she came out and we went up and got the box inside of her, it certainly looked like there was going to be a lot of opportunity there for him.
Even like Mapunga Tully would have been tough to beat. But did it give you more confidence in a way or less confidence? Because when we were talking to the experts here, Mapunga Tully was going to help you with a clear passage through with the way that dog likes to get off the fence.
Yeah, she does like to get off the fence, but she's really good at what she does. And when she's out in front, she can run where she wants, and she's really hard to catch. I guess it probably didn't change the race so much for Deadly Avenger. He looked like he was going to get a bit of opportunity to run, but it probably changed the race a lot for the dogs on the outside of Tully.
Yeah. Geez, Morton's been a grand old campaigner for the Sharps, and you've done a wonderful job looking after him while he was in Perth, but he never really runs a bad race, old Morton.
He's a good dog. He's lovely to deal with. He's very easy to fall in love with, and he just turns up on race days. He's got plenty to back it up as well. So
what have you got any representation for the Sandgroper?
Personally, out of our own team, we haven't got anything in, but there's a couple of dogs that look like they would like to come over and be in our rental car situation again and board up here while the race is on.
Would Deadly Avenger or Morton be one of those dogs that would be keen to compete in a Sandgroper?
I think if I owned a slot, I'd certainly be chasing those sort of dogs.
Yeah, why wouldn't you?
Well, they've proved it, haven't they? They've already been over here and raced in Perth and proven that they really like it and they can handle the situation.
I would be doing from a Tab Touch point of view, because they've got Tim Zoo. He's a star, Tim Zoo. I think he's the people's dog at the moment. He's doing wonderful things. But if I'm like Cannington or even Rawa, I would be saying if you win the Perth Cup, you can represent us in the Sandgroper. That's how I would do it.
Personally, I'd look at Tab Touch and think no disrespect, obviously massive respect to all the Victorians and their connections, but if you're Tab Touch and you're running a bet local, stay local sort of slogan on your operation, you'd think you'd support local, wouldn't you?
I disagree with you a little bit there, Steve, only because I think that for the betterment of this series, and I was probably a little bit critical that they went with Rope Them In a way for their quokka, I think that if you want to make this race series one of the biggest in Australia and to get the turnover up and to get more eyeballs on these races, that you need to have strong representation from the eastern states in a way, or some of the biggest names. And I think sometimes that Tab Touch, like I would have tried to get a Jimmy Starr or someone like that for the gallops that would have really had and you would get like a big name jockey and a trainer and eyeballs would be on a race which it's going to be in a way. But I think you need to have national representation in this trilogy. That's just my humble.
It's going to be a great race, and you know that you're going to get the East Coast. I can't speak so much for the gallops because my finger's not on that pie, and I haven't got the form there. But I would think, again, like the previous years, you're going to have your best horses coming over. Yeah. But in the dogs, you can guarantee you're going to have at least 6 East Coast dogs over here representing, and they're going to be the best of the best. Parochial speaking, we think we've got great dogs here in Perth, and we've proved it over many years. I have
100%.
Many different kennels now, travelling, and I think Tab Touch is a local operator, and we've got a lot of local product here that's fantastic. And let's get out there and prove it again.
I can see both sides of the argument. For instance, if Tommy Shelby was racing, because he was such the people's dog in a way, and Tab Touch use it from a marketing perspective, there'd be you wouldn't think about it twice. You'd go, here's the key, Steve. He's representing us. And you would be able to do some great content around that, if you know what I mean, to promote the sport, because a dog like Tommy, he did transcend the game in a way. People were interested outside of the greyhound racing bubble. But you had 3 runners that made it into a Melbourne Cup final based out of Perth, or started their careers in Perth anyway. So
correct.
WA, pound for pound, they're probably, it's hard to argue there's no better state at the moment in greyhound racing.
Obviously, Victoria is the big wig, but they have a lot bigger population. So like you're saying, pound for pound, opportunity is the thing we keep looking back to. And it's very hard to travel from Perth, and some kennels don't get the chance, but they've got dogs here that are flying around, and a pound for pound, again, if they're given the opportunity at home, they could prove themselves to be a lot more than just a local wonder. And
that's, as you say, like this great game can be levelled up pretty quickly if a dog draws a bad box. Like you might not win a big race like this at a box draw, but you can definitely lose it.
Guaranteed. Yeah, that's a fact.
You must be proud with Tommy Shelby.
Well, how could you not be proud of him?
Mate, what a star.
Bigger than winning the lotto, because you've got the experience to go with it. And he's still just the coolest, most humble dude that sits on the couch beside you and eating your food. And, he's a great friend. Yeah.
And what he did to you from a race perspective, you can't, as you said, you can't put a value on that, because it's the experiences and the joys and the thrill that he was able to give you. But then the job that he's doing as a sire, and you see all these Tommy Shelbys racing around, and they're not only prominent in the West, but like you got Deadly, Venger and Morton doing great stuff at the moment. Like he's just a freak.
He just goes to prove again, it was all him and none of me.
That's a lie. You did very well, Steve.
I kept him upright and facing forward, and he just went on to show how great he is. And he's proven it now with his offspring, that it was all him and his DNA and his talent. And there's a couple of nice ones coming through in Victoria at the moment in the low grades. That'll show up in the city very shortly. And, we're extremely proud. It's an understatement.
How does it all work, basically? So would he be booked out now? Is he, like, with the success that he's having, is he hard to get into?
No, obviously the breeding's turned down a lot in the last 5 years.
Yeah.
So there's lots of opportunity. Getting opportunity for stud dogs now is probably the hard thing. He's still going quite well himself, but there's not the breeding numbers. The litters aren't going on the ground like they used to. So, there's not as many serves going around.
Okay. Anyway, mate, what have we got to look forward to now? Obviously the Sandgroper and the Carnival's done and dusted, but your team, how many are you working at the moment?
We only run a small team. We only run 11 kennels. So we've got Boracay Summer was in that final on Saturday night, but her future might be over a little bit further. So we'll test that water with her. And a set of young pups coming home by Tommy that have just started racing, and a few more that haven't started yet that look a little bit exciting. And hopefully one of those lives up to their promise. And, we might be back on the road. Have
you got a winner for us, mate?
Haven't got anything engaged this week. Okay. Boracay Summer will step up over the middle distance after after the Cup on Saturday night, and depending where she drew and what she grew up against, I think she's shown a real affinity. She likes it, and she's definitely one to follow.
Mate, it's great to catch up with you, Steve. One of my favourite stories covering these great games of ours was your story with Tommy Shelby and the journey that he took you on and how he represented WA like he did, and to see him become the superstar stud dog that he has is just puts a big smile on my face, and you're one of the greats, mate. So you deserve all the success that comes your way. And to Quinella a Perth Cup and to keep those dogs and in form and to race them through the series is a credit to how you prepare a dog. So congratulations, mate. We appreciate your time here this afternoon. And, hopefully you can get a slot in the Sandgroper with one of these dogs that will fly in and you'll look after. Hopefully these owners are looking after you as well.
Everybody looks after us. We appreciate your kind words and the opportunity. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Steve. There's Steve Withers there. One of the highlights of the Western Trilogy for me anyway has been the impact that Rams Racing has had on all three codes in the slot races there, the Another Ball, the Sandgroper, and of course the Quokka, with Rams Racing teaming up with Derby Racing to win the first couple of Quokkas there with Overpass. And the celebrations with the big cowboy hats have been one of the greatest ever marketing tools the Quokka could have. And Cam Byers from Rams Racing joins us now. Cam, thanks very much for your time here on this Tuesday afternoon.
No problem, Gareth.
Has it exceeded your expectation, the success that Rams Racing has had over the first couple of years of the trilogy, especially, of course, with the Quokka?
Absolutely, mate. When we set out on the journey to try and acquire a slot, we never thought in a million years that we'd be able to have the success we had. Like any sport, you go into it with high expectations, but when they actually when they transpire, that's a whole new different experience, mate. Yeah. We didn't think we would ever get the opportunity to join the Western Trilogy slot holders in the beginning. Just being a group of mates with no corporate attachment, but we put together a bit of a plan and managed to find ourselves in all three slots, and then the following year in the country slot race over here, the Bluff Knoll, which we won as well. Yeah, and then put the plan together to try and bring the best horses for. Try and win the race, and we did. There's a long story behind that one as well, mate. But the expectations far exceeded what we thought would be possible. Finding ourselves probably start the favourite in the third one this year.
I love the story with Overpass. I've mentioned this a few times, and you can correct if I've got this story wrong, because I've made up a few stories over my time. But we were sort of working closely because SEN Track had a slot in the first ever running of the Quokka, and I would be talking to Adam Fletcher especially, and then we caught up with lunch just before, I think it was this time 2 years ago, the William Reid, and we were both frustrated. Yeah, we were both frustrated that we were trying to work out what bloody horse we could get. And I thought and we would be swapping notes because we're all on the same page, and we were running out of time. And I remember the William Reid, you tried to get the Kiwi horse and it didn't quite, because it failed that particular night, I think, in the William Reid.
No, King of Sparta, mate.
Oh, King of Sparta, yeah.
King of Sparta, yeah.
And then I was left, I think we were both chasing Kementari, and I think I got Kementari, and I thought, oh, thank God I got a horse, because I thought I might have to go back to, no disrespect, to a WA horse, a local horse, and it might start 200 to 1. But tell us, but you guys, I remember you took the punt and you headed to Sydney on TJ Smith morning or day, and talk us through what happened there, Cam.
Well, mate, we, I think 69 horses we profiled for the race starting in December the year before, and King of Sparta finished up on top. Yeah. And we put a plan together there. I got to meet Harry Mitchell at the Classic Sale in Sydney that year, and he was pretty keen to come. But decided that we might have some issues with the other ownership group and the trainer. So we thought we'd go and meet Peter face to face in the mounting yard on William Reid night and try and talk him into coming west. And the team decided they didn't want to. So we worked our way through the order from there. Come back to a couple of local ones which we missed. There was a few of the interstate horses that we were still talking to, but the Quokka obviously didn't have any profile at the time, and with the race timing around the Sydney Autumn Carnival, it's hard to entice people to come here. It's good money, but it's not, once you break the slot disbursements down, it's not probably too much better than what you can race for in Sydney, so it is hard to attract people here. But we thought that Overpass, he profiled for us as a wet tracker early, numerically, and that's why he didn't kind of make the first cut. But then, ironically enough, he was our last Eastern State shot, and he was lining up in the TJ Smith, obviously, on the Saturday. And I didn't actually go. Adam Fletcher and Stewie Campbell went over and met Bjorn and met Scott on the morning of the race. And I think when Bjorn went to bed on the Friday night, we had a good 4 and he woke up to a heavy 8. He got scratched and the boys did the deal on course, and the rest history, mate. 2 Quokkas and 2 Winterbottoms.
It's an astonishing story. So if it didn't rain that overnight and it was a heavy 8 on that race day morning and it was still a good track, Overpass wouldn't have started in the Quokka, and he probably wouldn't have done what he's been able to do in the West.
Correct. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. It's an amazing story the way it all transpired, mate. The heavy 8. He comes out, comes west, wins a Quokka by a pimple, granted, but he wins a win. The filly nearly ran us down, but great time was had by all on track, and then we doubled up again the following year, and we won a Winterbottom in the middle, and come back and won another Winterbottom, and then we find ourselves heading into a 3rd Quokka and probably start favourite.
I love this story.
The horse has probably only had about 10 starts.
I love this story because this is what slot racing's all about. I remember, and I'm not speaking out of school here, but Stewie Campbell and especially Adam Fletcher, I've had enough. We can't compete with Tab Touch. Bloody, it's just not fair. We can't get a bloody horse. We've got to make some money out of it, and we can't get a proper deal to get a proper Eastern State horse, and we're going to be stuck with the local at 200 to 1. It's not worth our time. And then you win the Quokka. It's the greatest thing ever.
Well, mate, and it's been a pleasure to be able to do it with a syndication group as well, because we're a great group of people. We've got a large group of people, and Derby Racing, mate, they're just taking the country by storm at the moment. They're the biggest and best syndication group going around. They win every other day, and the people involved with them, the management team there are just great people to race horses with, and the network of friendships that's opened up in the last 2 years between our group and their group. More racehorse ownership, more people to the track, more stories to tell. It's fantastic, mate.
It's exactly what I reckon. If you're thinking about this concept, that this is what you want. You want a Ram Syndicate winning a race like this, because you can't put a value on the marketing that it does for racing in general and the fun that people are having. Then they tell their friends, and then they tell their friends. And did you see these mad people with the cowboy hats on the news there after they took out a Quokka? It's sensational. And the story behind Overpass in the first year, it's what, like, perseverance. Like, you guys never give up. You gave up. Like, for Adam and Stu to jump on a plane to try your luck, and I reckon you were 10 to 1, 15 to 1 to get Overpass there, maybe even longer, and then God looks after you, or someone looked after you, and it rains, and then you get the deal done on that day. And now Overpass will become, like, they'll have to name a bar after him, I reckon, at Ascot. They have to.
If he wins again, they'll be putting a statue of him next to Northerly Fifer.
Yeah, they would have to, because he comes one of the greatest ever performed horses in the biggest races to turn up. Like, to win 2 Winterbottoms and 3 Quokkas, they're the biggest races in the West at the moment, I reckon.
Yeah, it would be nice if we could put another one away, mate. But horse has got to get here. There's a few weeks to go yet. He's got to get here, and he's got to get here sound. But if he does, I think he'd be very hard to beat. The other exciting part of the journey for us, mate, was the Everest as well. When we approached the ATC, or James Ross and the ATC at the time, to buy half the slot to race Overpass in for that was just an awesome experience. I think we said we get 50 cowboy hats to Randwick if we did the deal, and I think we got 54 cowboy hats in the end. But sitting in the mounting yard there with the Sweet Caroline, mate, was one of the biggest thrills you could possibly get in racing. That was great fun.
No, mate, I jump on the Rams racing bandwagon. I think it's great. And what about the story now? I know you love your harness racing, mate, but with the Nullarbor. So you've got Catch a Wave. We've talked about this a little bit, but just explain the story there in a way. It's got a little bit of overpass about it, how you got Catch a Wave, who, mind you, is the defending champ of this race.
Yeah, that was another last-minute thing, mate. We'd been in consultation with a few of the interstate brigades earlier in the year with the guidance of Mouse Brennan. He's been very helpful with us, spotting up our form, and a lot of us are long-time owners of Mouses, so we've got a very strong relationship with him. We obviously had Labrador we've had the last 2 years, and unfortunately probably didn't get the best of luck in the run last year, and probably unlucky not to win last year. But Ray Jones supported us all the way, encouraged us to have a look at the Eastern Seaboard and see if there was anything else that tickled our fancy for the race, knowing that we had Labrador there as a backup for us. So we, with the help of Mouse after the Hunter Cup, we did a bit of homework. Contacted a few of the connections of some of the horses that finished forward in the market there. Don Hugo, obviously. Swayze was already in the field, but Republican Party, we tried to reach out to Cran, but he'd gone back to New Zealand, obviously. Tack McLeod. Had a few conversations with Anthony Butt after the Hunter Cup, and then again after the Cranbourne Cup, and they were reasonably keen to come.
Well, he wanted to go, Ants. He wanted to go.
He did, yeah, he did. Yeah, I had a few conversations with him. He was very keen to come. And then we ended up going with Lavra, and unfortunately he did a suspensory the week we did the deal, which pushed us back to the Eastern Seaboard again. I think it was probably the week after Captain Hammerhead had beaten Swayze in the Albury Cup, and we thought, Albury's a bit of a tighter track, might sort of play along like Gloucester Park does a little bit. So we'd entered into discussions with David Moran and Don Martello over bringing Captain Hammerhead here. Don was pretty keen to go to the Miracle Mile, so he just wanted to see how the heats played out, but he's West Australian born, so he was pretty keen to come. But anyway, that didn't transpire. And then we got the call from Mouse last Tuesday that the slot positioning in New Zealand had changed profile, and that Catch a Wave was now available. So yeah, had a chat to, and I'll stand corrected there, Gareth, but I think Tack McLeod's actually taken the slot that Catch a Wave.
No, he did have it. Yeah, he did have it. And that was the plan, but they reckon he's done enough now. So they went to the paddock. Yeah, I think they're going to get another Australian horse. I don't know if that's been confirmed or not, but
yeah. Anyway, so we got on the phone to Andy.
Yep.
And had a good chat to him, and put us in touch with the owner, David Matthews, and managed to get a deal done fairly quickly, mate. Strike while the iron was hot before the market, realised potentially what was happening. Had a chat to Andy and David on the Tuesday and rolled into the Wednesday, and fortunately did the deal with David on the Wednesday, and looking very forward to starting the reigning champ, mate, in this year's Nullarbor.
He adds a lot. I had Chris Voak on earlier on in the show. I think it's the best field I've seen in WA for quite some time, if not the best, like depth-wise. When you got Swayze, Don Hugo, you're just missing Leap to Fame, basically. You got the star locals, and then you get Catch a Wave, who I think his best track is Gloucester Park. I think it suits him when he does no work, and there'll be pace on, and he can come with one run. So it's going to be exciting. And I don't think it matters. Race, I don't think it matters where he draws, to tell you the truth, Catch a Wave, because I don't want him hunted out at the start anymore. I think he's best when he can just work into these type of races. So, hey, it's exciting, mate. We've run out of time, but we wish you the best of luck. You haven't got a Sandgroper runner yet, but I'm sure that Adam Fletcher's onto that. There's plenty of options. I just had Steve Withers on the phone. The Perth Cup winner, or Morton, who ran second there, they haven't got a slot just yet. So maybe you could give him a call. I reckon Deadly Avenger would be ideal. If he draws a box, of course, you need a little bit of luck with those box draws in the greyhounds. But, it's exciting times.
Leave that one to Adam, mate.
Yeah, we will.
Professional with the dogs.
Hey, well done, Cam. We appreciate your time. Rams racing going to be awfully hard to beat in all three codes. So thanks for your time, mate.
Thanks very much.